Would you like to get into some spooky stories?
Oh, yeah. So, what are we talking about today, Fernanda? You mentioned you wanted to talk about something spooky.
Well, I had like a list of spooky industry topics that have been on my mind lately. And the
Mhm.
first one is recruiters. Do you agree that recruiters are kind of a scary topic? I think they are.
Maybe my first year or two, and like when I was still in college, yes. Because for now, I feel like I have a bargain.
Yes.
And like sometimes I'm like, this position really doesn't interest me. So I kind of ghost them a few days before replying. But like, no, thank you. Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, I guess it's less of a fear and more of a infuriating feeling that I have about recruiters.
Yeah, nowadays. Not
They've
all of
been on
them.
my
Some of them are
mind.
amazing.
Oh, yes, like I
Yeah,
have like five that I know who are great. The rest is all bad though. Oh my goodness. But I was thinking about them because a friend of mine has been dealing with a very prominent, like big studio that apparently just has a awful recruiting team. And I've just
It's
been
like
watching
a
her
in
go.
studio recruiter.
I believe so. I don't think it's like a
It's not an outsource.
external
Okay.
thing. I think it's like the in-house recruiting team is just really bad. And it's infuriating to see because like they should have their stuff together. Like they make a lot of money, they should be able to
Hmm.
afford like a good recruiting team. And she's been dealing with a lot of like they don't respond to her fast enough. She
Huh.
just did an art test that was like 2 weeks long, and she was really stressed about it. And apparently when she submitted the art test, she got an automated response saying that the role was closed.
What?
And it seems
After
like it
all
was
the
just
work that
like
she put into it?
exactly, like that's the reason I
Jeez.
was so mad about it.
And then what happened? Did
Well,
they?
it seems like it was an automated email that got sent out by mistake. Um,
Okay.
but because the experience with this recruiting team in general has been terrible, we're like, oh, maybe like in a week from now they're gonna be like, sorry.
I
That's
mean,
scary.
if she doesn't pass the art test, then it could still be the case. But I mean, I hope they at least look and consider her.
Yeah, ghosting is scary.
Yeah. Oh, Fernanda. Remember that company I told you that like they reached out to me a second time, half a year later, and be like, "Hey, are you interested in this position?" Which was like the exact same position that they interviewed and ghosted me at the beginning of the year.
I don't remember. Well, the thing is, this happens so often that like you could have told me that it could just be like a different situation, you know?
But okay, I still that was my first. That was like the exact same position at the same company, and I never had that before. I guess at least if it was the same position, it was like for different teams, blah blah blah, right? But this one, yeah, and like I was like, oh, I'm not sure. I mean, we've already talked. I mean, I tried to be polite about it, but
Yeah.
basically telling them like, you ghosted me last time. What do you want me to do? And they after that they ghosted me for like 3 more weeks, and initially it was like, oh, I'm like, fool me once, shame on
Shame on
you,
me.
fool me
Shame on
twice,
you.
shame on me. Is that how it goes? Anyway, I was like, oh, shame on me, I was fooled again. They eventually replied, I was like, oh, sorry, we're not going to do, which is okay, but like at that point I was like, oh, Nina, you're so dumb, you're doing this to yourself again.
Fool me 3 times. Oh no, don't do that,
Yeah,
please.
no,
That
there's no
sucks.
third time. There's no third time.
I mean,
But
you were
yeah.
telling me about the recruiters who sent you that LinkedIn DM that had like the asterisk,
Oh,
like applicant's name.
yes,
That
like,
was funny.
hello, first name. That was so bad.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of recruiters lately. Are you also getting a bunch of recruiters the past
I
few weeks?
do. I'm actually surprised. I don't even have my status set as like looking or anything. But
Same.
yeah, suddenly there's like a surge of a few
Yeah, I
recruiters
feel
reaching
like
out
it
every
happens
week,
like in waves. Like
I
maybe a studio
guess.
opens and then they're like, whoa, gotta look for tech artists. Yeah, I have to tell them, sorry, I'm not looking for positions right now.
I guess it's like about the time where,
Contracts end.
oh, that would depend. I was gonna say it was like the people are like starting a new school year, but I guess that doesn't relate to work. Never mind.
Well, when does the fiscal year end? Does that have to do with it?
I don't know. But I know that people are hiring a lot in April because that's like when schools are finished.
Weird.
Right? I don't know why now, but yeah, I suddenly had a burst of like sliding into my DM
Sliding into the
situation.
DMs. Yeah, a lot of friends. I've had a couple friends kind of scold me about how I feel about recruiters, that I don't really like recruiters. And I try to be understanding of the fact that recruiters are people and they're trying to pay their bills. But my friend Maddie, I was talking to her about it the past few days, and she put it in a way that was really excellent. She said, and I quote, "There's an inherent antagonism in a career that sees people as a resource to be acquired rather than as people," if that makes sense. The few recruiters that I hold in high regard were the ones who saw me as a person beyond my visa situation and managed to work with the situation instead of just turning me away.
And I kind of sympathize because like if I was working in that position, like, and I have to juggle like what hundreds of application per week or per day, must be tough.
Yeah, I would be interested in maybe getting a recruiter in here one day to talk about how it is. But I'm not sure how easy that would be because they probably have to deal with so much NDA stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe
Is
someone
there
who's a
like an
retired
ex
recruiter.
recruiter?
Yeah, maybe.
Do you have any like recommendation of how you would deal with recruiters that you're not fond of? Do you usually like, oh, if I don't like this recruiter, you just immediately say no to that job, or how does it work with you?
I feel like it depends at what stage of your career you're at because when I had no experience, I feel like I took on contracts with recruiters that were kind of shitty. And I ask myself, do I regret doing that? Well, then I'm like, I can't really regret something when I didn't really have a choice in the matter because the visa situation kind of forces you to take
Say
that
yes
route.
to everything, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, right? You understand that too.
Uh-huh.
I feel like you don't really have much of a choice when you're on a visa, unfortunately. I think that nowadays I just try to end the conversation as quickly as possible. Like, oh yeah, sorry, I'm not interested. Bye. When I do have friends who have shitty recruiters reach out to them about a position and they do need a new job,
Uh-huh.
I usually tell them to contact another recruiter that they trust about the same position because usually they're all trying to hire for the same roles, right?
But like it would be a different story for smaller studios though, right? Because there may just be one company representing them doing the resourcing for that company. If that was the case, would you consider like just reaching out to the company directly? Is that even, is it like legal? Is there a
I don't
legal
think
thing
that's
for this?
possible because the whole idea of having the recruiting team is so that recruiting takes care of that communication. I guess it's just unfortunate if your recruiting team is ass.
I was just wondering if there is like any because I'm assuming that like as a recruiter they would make some commission out of this, right?
Yeah.
But out of like getting someone hired, but like what if the candidate really didn't like the recruiter, and just reach out directly to the company, like
I feel
are
like
they
it would
allowed
be
to just take it?
awkward.
Yeah.
Like, I guess you could reach out to the recruiter's manager and be like, hey, this person is not being a great recruiter. Can I have someone else assigned to me? But that would be so awkward. I would not do it.
Yeah.
I would just be unemployed. I don't know.
Just
Sorry.
move
I can't,
on.
I'm not a confrontational person. I'm just going to go back to Brazil now. My bad. When it comes to hiring, another spooky thing is mass layoffs. Have you ever had to deal with that, Nina?
Fortunately, no, but I've heard of plenty.
Have you ever had that happen to someone close to you?
No.
No?
Yeah.
Someone on my senior game team got hired at a company and moved to another state just to work there, and then got like everybody got laid off at a random date and time.
Was it like soon after the move?
I think so, which
Oh,
made it
that's so
even worse.
shitty. Whew.
What would you do in that situation? I think for us, there's a lot more at risk. Not saying that we have it better or worse, but because of our visa situation, if we lose our jobs, we
Yeah.
lose our visa. Like, what would you do in that situation if that happened to you?
So, referring back to our previous episode with with Sonia,
Yeah.
she mentioned that, when there's a mass layoff happening, there's like a wave of sympathies from other people in the industry, like posting like, hey, we're hiring from this studio. So like, if this just happened, you just reach out to us, like to deal with that, I'm just gonna take her advice and like, always have at least my resume ready to go. And when that happened, I just like, here's my resume to 10 places or more, probably more if I actually got into that situation, which I hope never happened, but who knows.
I think my immediate reaction would be to lay face down on that carpet and just cry for like a few hours. And then I would call my parents and cry. And then I would just make a really sappy Twitter, Facebook post asking for help. Which is, I think, what a lot of people do. First they cry, and then they ask for help.
I mean, I hope you don't cry, but
I will be crying. But it hasn't happened yet. It's okay. Well, you see, I feel like it will happen one day because I never heard of someone ever having like a full career without that happening at least once. So I'm just kind of preparing.
I don't know. Some people that I know just never got laid off and always had work since they graduated from college.
Really?
Still have work. He's the guy in, is it Montreal or Vancouver? The CFX guy that I told you about that we should interview. Speaking of which, did he ever finish his move? He should have finished his move. I'll reach out to him.
Do you remember doing game presentations at DigiPen and how awful they were? I don't know if it was awful for you, but I always felt very on edge and very nervous.
I guess the stress would be like getting the materials together.
Really?
But the actual presenting, I didn't really have an issue with.
Huh. Maybe it was just me. I got full on like, I'm sweaty. I'm gonna shit myself. Like, it was so bad. And it's just kind of scary, not scary, infuriating to think that we got scolded for things back then that don't make a single difference. For example, I remember getting scolded once because I was showing an asset that I made and I said, oh, I drew this asset. And they were like, you shouldn't say I, you should say we made this asset. You're not a team player. And like, whenever I see yes. And whenever I see coworkers showing stuff in my studio, they're always saying, yeah, I did this. I did this. And I'm like,
I mean, of course, if it's like a collaboration effort and like, yeah, we made this game, right? But like, I did this and that. Like,
yeah, I gotta take ownership. Well, those presentations were really weird, I think, because you had to wear the uniform. You had to keep your hands behind your back. You couldn't look at the screen. That was weird. That's just insane.
I felt like it was a little weird, but maybe because I am from Thailand where like where students wear uniform to school every day. I didn't feel like I was uncomfortable with that. But like, so maybe I wasn't that nervous, but I was definitely infuriated at times. That like there was a scam project where we did it in a custom engine. And then they were like, oh, well, have you represented everything? Like, some professors were like on the phone or like wasn't paying attention.
That's the worst.
Then at the end, they were like, oh, yeah, at this stage, we kind of wish that you would show things in your own engine and not Unity preview, blah, blah. And we were like, wait, but this is in our engine.
What? Oh my god.
Yeah, the engineers, especially the graphics people, were pissed.
Understandably so, especially if you made a custom engine. I would be pissed like too. Unity. My team, we were talking about depleting the bark the other day, my team and I, and They reminded me of this one time when we were presenting and we were seniors, and then when all the teachers and professors stopped giving feedback, they turned to this random junior in the room and like told him to give us feedback. And it was like, why are you having a junior tell us feedback
What?
as if he was a teacher? It was a really weird situation, which I vaguely remember, but that was kind of weird. And we didn't really appreciate that. It felt really strange.
Was it like one of the TAs or something?
Maybe it still feels inappropriate to have a TA give feedback on a senior game team.
I would have to be present there to fully judge the situation, but yeah, it sounded strange. But since then, I kind of thought, oh, maybe that's gonna be the industry standard going on. But yeah, I never had to do presentation like that, like ever.
Really?
Like, I mean, like I presented stuff in front of the team and whatnot, but like not, oh, everyone standing straight with hands behind your back.
Yeah, that just makes it
What?
even worse. It makes it very nerve-wracking unnecessarily.
I wonder if that was like how it used to be, but like game studios are kind of shifting toward more casual culture, I feel.
I just cannot imagine that being a situation ever. Because even back in the good old days, who would present something like that? I just feel like that was a weird format they came up with. But who knows where they come up with that? Maybe it was in the weird studio that they were at.
Do you think that helped you with public speaking at all? Those experience?
No, I think they made it worse.
Right.
The first time I had to present something, I was definitely nervous. But once you start going, it's kind of like playing an instrument. Once you start presenting and performing, you get on the vibe, you get on the wave, and you just ride it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually, one of the first times I presented here, like I was really nervous and I just asked another tech artist to help me present my stuff.
I feel like that's okay.
Yeah, and then during Q&A, I just talked. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm fine with this.
Oh, are you afraid of making mistakes at work?
I feel like I do that all the time. Like, if you don't make mistakes, how are you gonna learn? And like, well, at least I'm not a senior position, so like, it's assumed that I will be making mistakes.
Have you ever made a mistake that stopped the game on its tracks?
I made a mistake early on that made everyone who got that change crash. And then spent a
Nice.
few hours debugging. And it's almost like, oh, it's from this change list. And then they message me like, Nina, you broke.
Yeah, the thing
But
that
it
sucks
wasn't
about
that.
change lists is that they can track who did it, right?
Yeah.
Sucks. Ah!
Oops. It has my alias on it.
What did you
What
do?
did you
Like, what do
do?
you do?
Huh?
I mean, like, when you mess up, like, how do you go about it? Are you like straightforward? Do you let people know immediately, like, what happened?
Well, that time it's more like they reach out to me like, hey,
Oh,
I was like, whew, am I gonna be fired? Well, no, I knew I was gonna be fired, but they were like, yeah, you didn't say, oh, sorry, I didn't realize. So what do I have to do, like, to not make the thing crash again? I don't even remember what it was anymore. But like, I was like, okay, noted.
yeah. So you kind of turned it into a learning experience.
Yeah.
I feel like people appreciate that.
What about you? Feel like you had something juicy you were about to share?
Well, I never like broke the whole game, although
Good.
it wasn't really my fault. Let me just say it first, okay?
Okay. Okay.
It was like a combination of unfortunate events that led to some future assets being leaked in our
Oh.
game. And I mean, yeah, it was like it wasn't exactly my fault, but one of my change lists was in there.
Mhm.
And I basically said, "Oh yeah, I'm really bummed that this happened. Let me double check and reach out to some people to make sure that it doesn't happen again." One of my proudest moments, I would say. I'm pretty happy with how I dealt with it. And it wasn't even my fault. It wasn't my fault,
Wait,
gamers.
so
Please,
how did it leak? Did someone post something they're not supposed to?
hackers, scary.
Mm. Mm.
Huh.
I haven't done a big enough screw up that warrant me getting fired, thankfully. But I've seen someone who it wasn't even their fault. They got an okay from their lead and they went ahead and did the thing, but then other people unrelated that is not even on his team found out about that, and then he got fired, and it wasn't his fault. And I'm just
That
like,
really sucks.
yeah.
New fear unlocked for me. Although my lead is very, I really don't think my lead would ever do that.
Don't trust everything the lead says. That was really scary, and I was trying to fight for him for a while, and then it's just like, yeah, I gave up, and I'm like, okay.
Man, I saw something gamer related that was a little scary a few hours before we started talking.
Yeah.
Do you know about the new Amazon game, New World?
Yes.
So apparently the game is client-side authoritative, I think is what the term is.
What's that mean?
So I'm still learning about this, so pardon my shitty explanation, but from my understanding, a lot of the calculations on things like how much gold the player has or how much damage the player is taking, they're calculated.
The machine?
Yes, which makes it very easily exploitable.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And people are finding cheats like making themselves invulnerable by playing the game in window mode and just moving the window around when they're taking damage so the game doesn't calculate the damage they're taking. And this guy wrote a Python script that was like 5 lines long that just vibrates the window by like 1 pixel, and it has a key binding, so whenever he wants to be invincible in the game, he just presses this key and the screen vibrates a little bit and it makes him invincible.
What the heck? That is crazy.
That's scary on its own.
How was this decision even made?
See, so here's the thing. I was watching a video on it today that my friend sent me, and one of the comments on it was basically just taking a huge dump on the developers and saying, oh yeah, the developers can't do basic math, they're stupid, whatever. But from my experience, whenever stuff like this happens, it's not really the developers who are pushing for these decisions to be made this way. It's usually like higher up people who decided it was going to be this way somehow. And I know people who work on that game, and I'm confident that they're great developers, and I would not be surprised if they brought it up many times, but it just got shut down, you know?
You know what? It must be something like to improve the connection or something. Because like I would assume that it would be less traffic if you didn't have to go back and forth to the server, right?
I have no idea. I'm still learning about servers.
Me too, but that would be my assumption.
But like many other games don't do that, right? Both people are weird about things, about change. So I don't trust that it's the developer. I mean, when bad things ship, usually the developers are the first people to know that it's bad.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, like that comment, I read it and I was like, that's kind of a poopy take. You are a gamer and you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, the reason I somehow thought that this was going to be related to what I was talking about earlier, because the person who I told you that got fired is actually working on New World now. I thought you were going to like say something related to that. I was like,
RIP person. Yeah, sorry, dude.
He's striving, seems to be good now, so it's fun.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Hopefully the game does well. Oh, it seems like it's doing okay, aside from this weird thing going on. Hopefully they figure that out. Yeah, they better patch that soon. Yeah, and I feel like so many people that I talk to are also playing it. I heard that it's a very like an enjoyable game. Very but because grindy, though. Really? That's what I heard. And see, made me motion sick. That's the thing, because like if the bulk of the game is grinding, then the fact that you can be invulnerable and like cheat money and currency is really a really big problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have an answer to this. Me neither. That's hopefully weird. They figure that out. I hope so. They're hopefully aware of this, right? I think so. I think they released a few patches already. I don't remember when that video was posted. I think it was pretty recent. but it seemed like they didn't fully fix it. So the impression that the public has is that it's not an easy fix for them to do.
Oh, doesn't sound like an easy fix to me either.
Yeah. Scary stories. Scary game dev stories. That's all I have.
Scary game dev story. The social media team just posted this one shot of like a vanished building, which everyone seemed to like it in the comments. But then I see it, I was just like, the emissive card. So like we're using edgelots in that area, which is like, you know what edgelot is? It's like hierarchical level of detail. So you probably don't use it too much with like mobile game.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. You know what? I don't actually know. But it basically will combine all the geometries together once it's like switched to like a certain distance. Once you go to a certain distance, it will combine everything together and then lot everything together.
Is that a plugin?
Even cheaper, huh?
Is that a plugin for lotting?
Well, for this one, it's just like an engine feature that we made.
Okay.
By we, it's not me, but the engineer.
I made this. But, you shouldn't be saying
I baked that edgelot, and I due to some limitation, you know, at the very end, it was just faster to just do the hacky way. So I like, instead of doing the baking, trying to get it to be right, I just manually edited some part of that geometry. And the emissive cards, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. It was very hacky. It's like I can't see the actual change in Maya. So like I would have to like move it a little bit, export, look at the engine, and come back to Maya. And then move a little bit and export again. It was very hacky, and I thought I got it to like a good place. But then I looked at it again, I'm like, oh, it's a little floaty. And it just got like this knot in my stomach, like looking at that picture.
So, is that a picture that's out there?
Yeah, it's on Facebook. I didn't share it because of my
because of
feeling
your shame.
But let's see.
Let me look at that juicy.
And like I sent it to another artist. It's like, oh my god, do you see what I'm seeing? And he was like, no, you know what caught my attention more? He said like, isn't that like light underneath supposed to be faded out at this distance? And I'm like, shit.
Honestly, I don't even see what you're talking about.
Okay, that's good.
I mean, we are always our worst critics. So
absolutely. And it's gonna taunt me. Let me just close this window now.
I'm still looking at it. Spilling coffee on your work laptop. That's the scariest of all.
That never happened to me. And that's probably why DigiPen has this rule of using the auto close Contigo mod only.
They did have that rule. Huh.
Yeah, remember that. Right?
I do.
And
totally
Melvin
forgot.
is very adamant about it, our security guard.
Hope that guy's doing okay.
Yeah, I hope so too. So did you spill coffee on your laptop?
I did, and
oh no.
Let me tell you what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to turn it off immediately, turn it upside down, and leave it out to dry. I guess I panicked and I didn't turn it off as immediately as I should. Fortunately, I don't leave anything important on my computer, so I just had a new laptop shipped.
Oh, they just replaced it for you?
Yeah, nice. I was afraid they were gonna take it out of my salary or something, but they didn't.
Oh, thank goodness.
They were really nice about it.
That's nice of them.
Yeah.
Honestly, with all the moves, I'm also afraid that I would break their computer one of these days.
Oh, same.
I almost dropped the tower. It scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, when they were bringing stuff into my apartment when I moved here earlier this year, I'm always so terrified my tower is not gonna turn on because like I have a really chunky graphics card and it's being held in place by like a really tiny screw. So I'm really scared that during the move it's just gonna collapse and destroy everything.
Well, at least you are near one of your studios, right? So I would assume they have some IT people on site.
I don't know if it on site because of the pandemic. I think that when I had my laptop shipped, somebody had to go in and do it, which I felt kind of bad for, but
he got paid for it.
yeah, he's being paid for it.
Yeah. For my studio, we actually have IT people on site 24/7, and I feel really bad for them.
Well, hopefully they're IT, so they're getting paid a lot.
I hope so. They gotta deal with our tickets and our craps all day. Like, oh, I can't access this documentation website. IT.
IT. Our Halloween episode. That was full of scary stories, I think.
Yeah, please share your spooky, scary industry or just life in general stories down below. I would be very interested to hear.
Send them in. We might read them out loud if somebody listens to this and post them. I'll be happy to.